I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Kenny. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. We all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war going on. Make me put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like Kima. Ain't give a F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on the brand new Beamer. Tryna earn 8 stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a Akita. And expose to a cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque o no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. He shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Y'all just talk, don't live it. And just took that route, that seen it. And I'm so outspoken like Reason. Jimmy Neutron, boy, Young G's. And I'm a self-made man out of Sweden. And it's still off top, I'm tweaking. But I still gotta fight my demons. I ain't no good, I'm evil. I ain't been clean since Eden. It's a war going on.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the WAG Show. This is episode 111. I'm your host, Ben Hassan. We are here to preview the NFC East and also give out our best bets for MLB tonight. Really small MLB slate tonight, only 4 games. So it kind of works out that we're doing the NFC East preview because there's just not a lot to talk about. In the Discord, I accidentally said it was the NFC North preview. That was yesterday. I'm changing that right now. It's NFC East today. We did NFC North yesterday. So if you guys missed out on the NFC South or NFC North previews, you can go back and rewatch them on the YouTube channel. Or if you want to listen to them while you're doing something, they are up on iTunes as well. Mitchell, what's up? Mitchell, break this down for me. Mitchell reached out to me in Discord yesterday, and he asked me who was going to win more games between the Rams and the Saints because he was arguing with his brother. Please tell me that you were not the one that was saying the Rams are going to win more games than the Saints. I need to know this story, Mitchell. Also, if you guys missed it, preseason football tonight, I have 2 prize pick slips posted in the Discord. I have a underdog 10x attempt slip posted in the Discord. I have 2 bets for sports books posted in the Discord, and then I have my full player pool for daily fantasy sports up in the Discord. I'll have core plays posted close to lock. I'll be playing. I'll have cores for DraftKings and FanDuel tonight, and then also for the 2-game slate, and then I'll also have core plays for the DraftKings showdown slate for the 10 p.m. game, which is the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks. So 3 core plays for DFS tonight. Prize pick slips are up. Bets are posted. If you guys have questions on any preseason stuff, we can talk about the preseason games tonight after we go through the NFC East as well. And you can sign up for that at betkarma.com/pricing or at dfskarma.com/pricing for the DFS side of things. We were at the gym, so we went through Saints' schedule, and he said the Rams. Well, okay, Kupp is definitely better than Olave. That is factual, at least currently. Stafford better than Carr, maybe, I guess, but Stafford is coming off a pretty serious injury. Derek Carr, I think, is underrated. I mean, Derek Carr is not like a top 10 quarterback in football, But you can win games with Derek Carr. People love to bring up like game-winning drives and stuff. I actually think Derek Carr, without checking, I think if you go look at like come from behind drives in the last like 6 years, I think Derek Carr is actually up there in terms of the most come from behind wins or like last drive of the game to like win games and stuff. Uh, um, there was arguing points. Cup is definitely better than Olave, but I mean, I don't think you can definitively say Stafford's better than Carr at this moment because of the back injury and all that stuff. And in terms of team construction, I mean, it's not even close. Like the Saints have a way better team. The Los Angeles Rams are going to have one of the worst defenses in football. They have Aaron Donald and they have nobody else. Matt and I talked about it in our DFS video, but there was a stat from someone that Aaron Donald's the only player currently on the Rams defense that was drafted in the top 2 rounds of the NFL draft. They just have nobody on defense. They're going to be terrible defensively. I don't think their offensive line is very good. So I don't think the team is very good. They also play in a tough division because Seattle's kind of really come on. And obviously, we know San Francisco is arguably the first or second best team in the NFC. So much harder division, agree. And I don't think the team construction, Saints are just, better set up. They'll literally be a bottom 3 team. They certainly could be one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in football. I agree with that. Especially if things go south, you just never know. This is the problem I have. Like Cooper Cup, in my opinion, for in terms of season long, should be, a top 3, 4, 5 pick. But there are holes you can poke in him. That's the hole you can poke in him, right? Is that if things just go completely south for the Rams and Stafford's out, like it could just like the entire offense could just collapse. Now, even if that happens, like as long as Cooper Cup stays healthy, he's still gonna get fed. But I don't know. That is a hole to poke in him. Whereas like someone like Jefferson, um, Tyreek Hill, and Chase, the only hole you can poke in him is if Burrow's not fully healthy, which you can't really predict, injury stuff. Like if Burrow's actually going to get hurt and miss time, then, you just don't know. But you can't really poke those holes in those 3 guys in terms of the team just completely collapsing from underneath them. Like the Vikings, their defense is terrible. I think they're going to be great for fantasy. We talked about that yesterday. Like I think there's going to be a lot of shootouts. And, that's just going to help Justin Jefferson. Plus, he's playing in a contract year. Tyreek Hill, even when Tua was out last year, Tyreek Hill was still fine. And, Chase has obviously Joe Burrow, so we don't have to worry about that much. Anyways, let's dive in here. NFC East. I have the divisional odds pulled up from FanDuel Sportsbook. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, no surprise, at -115 to win the division. We then have the Dallas Cowboys close behind at +175. And then all the way down at 7-1, the New York Giants, followed by the Washington Commanders at 13-1. So overall, I think no shock here. Eagles, best team in the NFC, in my opinion. Um, very, uh, you know, could easily win the Super Bowl. I don't have a Super Bowl bet. You guys know I had a big bet on them last year at really good preseason odds. Not looking to bet them right now just because of the odds. Um, but they would probably, if I was just purely picking a team to win the Super Bowl, tough to go against them. I do think they might be out on a revenge tour. I think they're even better set up than last year. I mean, they're just loaded on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively, on the line of scrimmage. Both sides, offense and defense, are just completely loaded. Um, so it's just tough to go against them. I will say I do think Dallas could win the division. Typically, I'm very anti Dallas Cowboys. I'm typically very fade Dallas Cowboys. I have been the past few years. I don't know if people follow me, but we bet we bet against Dallas in the playoffs a few years ago when they were playing the Jimmy Garoppolo Niners, and we won that bet. I'm typically very anti Dallas, and I don't think like I pretty much said when Dallas got Mike McCarthy, like I'll never be on this team because they're just never going to win with him. That being said, I do like their setup this year. I think their team is very good. They're easy to root against. Completely agree. They on top of just for me, really, it's just the fact that I think Mike McCarthy is such a fraud coach that I'm willing to just bet against him most times in big games. but I do agree they are easy to root against. Completely. Sean, what's up? Now that being said, I like their team this year. I think that offensively, some of the moves they've made, Philly made a bunch of great moves. Also, we'll break that down. But I mean, the draft picks that they got defensively, very very good. They brought in, Miles Sanders leaves, which is really whatever to me because in my opinion, Kenneth Gainwell it was their best running back in the playoffs down the stretch last year. Kenneth Gainwell, I think, is a very very good fantasy pick where he currently goes. Also, but they bring in DeAndre Swift, they bring in Rashad Penny. It kind of sounds like right now from camp stuff that they're just gonna purely use DeAndre Swift as like a satellite back, similar to how the Lions were using him. Like DeAndre Swift is not gonna be like a bell cow back for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think they're gonna keep DeAndre Swift in that role. I think that Kenneth Gainwell is 100% going to be in there like 2 minute, 3 minute quick offense. I think it's going to be Kenneth Gainwell out there. And I think that there's an opportunity for Kenneth Gainwell to steal early down rushing work also. But I think it'll be, Rashad Penny will get a lot of early down work. DeAndre Swift, satellite back. Kenneth Gainwell is going to come in. And if one of those guys goes down, to me, Kenneth Gainwell is going to have an even bigger role. Swift is so good. I think Swift is good, but clearly these teams, I don't know. It has to be something from behind the scenes. The Lions just really seemed to not want to give him a role. He does get hurt a lot. I don't know. I'm not at practice every day on the teams, so I have no idea. But if I'm picking someone here in fantasy, I want Kenneth Gainwell, at least where he's going. Dallas, I like the moves they made as well. Bringing in Brandon Cooks, I think will be good for the offense. Obviously, they take out Dalton Schultz. He leaves via free agency. They take out Zeke for now. I still think Dallas has to be the odds-on favorite to sign Zeke. I would not be shocked if, we get really close to the season and they just bring Zeke back on a cheap deal. I think that's probably the likeliest outcome for him. But and I like some of the stuff they did on defense. Stephon Gilmore. Overall, I like the moves the Dallas Cowboys made in the offseason. So I don't like going from Kellen Moore to Schottenheimer in terms of like offensive coordinator stuff. I don't like that. But I don't know. It's a complete unknown. I don't like Mike McCarthy calling plays. I think that's bad. But at the same time, like if we look at it from a perspective of like Mike McCarthy's come out multiple times in the offseason saying like we need to run the ball more. We're going to run the ball more because Dallas has thrown the ball a ton the last 2 seasons with Kellen Moore at OC. Now they take him out. Mike McCarthy is going to be calling the plays, and he said multiple times, "Oh, we need to run the ball more and slow things down." I don't know if like they're going to be able to do that. Like if they don't bring Zeke back and they're just rolling Tony Pollard, Rico Dodal, Malik Davis, whoever they have at running back, that doesn't necessarily tell me that they're going to be running the ball a lot. And bringing in someone like Brandon Cooks, also, that doesn't tell me that they're going to be running the ball a lot. So I don't necessarily believe that they're going to just all of a sudden, without Kellen Moore, turn into this super kind of run heavy offense. And I definitely think they could win the division. I'm not going to bet it at plus 175, but I wouldn't be shocked if they won the division. Honestly, this is the best setup I've liked for their team for the last few years. I think, offensively, I think Dak's going to play better than he did last year, and defensively, we know they're good. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a monster season again. Back end of the first round fantasy drafts, I would be completely fine taking CeeDee Lamb or early second. Whatever. Depends on your league size, but overall, I am actually for once bullish on the Dallas Cowboys this year. After those two teams, Giants, I don't know, man. I mean, the Giants had a good offseason as well. They signed, obviously, Daniel Jones to that contract. They brought in Paris Campbell, Darren Waller. They drafted Jalen Hyatt. They have like a million receivers now. Last year, they had like a bunch of random guys. By the time we got to the end of the season, now they have just a ton of names at receiver. They also were able to get Saquon Barkley under contract for this season, so he's been back. Defensively, some of the moves they made are not bad. So overall, pretty solid offseason for the first three teams in this division. I don't think the Giants are going to be quite as good as they were last year. Personally, I think that definitely like Philly and Dallas are the clear two teams in this division for me. Giants did make the playoffs last year. Wouldn't be shocked if they missed it this year, but Brian Daboll, he did kind of show me. I was kind of skeptical of him coming over from Buffalo, but we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be betting on them to win the division. I would not be betting on them to make the playoffs. I do think they'll take a small step back, but Brian Dable has shown he can do it. So we'll wait and see what happens. Richie James is on the Chiefs now, I believe. They have Paris Campbell, they have Jalen Hyatt, they have Isaiah Hodgins, they have Wandale Robinson. Obviously, they have Darren Waller. I think for fantasy wise, Darren Waller should be really, really good as long as he's able to stay on the field. So if you play in tight end premium leagues, the top tier is Kelsey, Andrews, Darren. I would put Darren Waller third. And then if I can't get one of those three guys, then I would be fine just waiting on tight end if you played tight end premium leagues. Do you like Barkley for fantasy leagues? Yeah. So I worked a little bit more on my article. I have it all mapped out. I just have to finish writing it. So hopefully I can get that out tonight or tomorrow morning. If it's out tonight, it'll be late tonight. If it's tomorrow morning, it'll be, I don't know, before noon if I had to guess, but hopefully I can finish that up. I don't mind Barkley. He's in that tier with Nick Chubb for me, but how I'm going to be playing my leagues, I think it comes down to what league you're playing in. If you're playing in just like a normal league with like your friends and it's ten teams, I'm probably going to be less inclined to take a running back early this year. I actually like how zero running back sets up more so than I did the last few years. If you guys remember last year, I prioritized getting Saquon Barkley. It was like, I need to get this guy. And that obviously worked out. This year, I'm less inclined to take a running back early. I'll be taking more receiver heavy or even tight end. I like Travis Kelsey as a first round pick. So I don't mind him. It kind of comes down to your league. Like if you're playing in a more casual league with 10 people, I would say I'm less inclined to take him because you're going to be able to win on the waiver wire throughout the season and in the middle to the late rounds of your draft. I feel like if you know what you're doing, you'd have an advantage over the casual person. So that's even more reason for me to not take a running back early. If you're playing in like a 12 team league and you pick maybe in the middle of the first round and then it comes back to you in the middle of the second and Saquon Barkley's there, I wouldn't be opposed to taking him in that spot. I think I lean towards Nick Chubb over him. If I was picking one, they do go close to each other. But if you're middle of the second and like a 12 teamer, you know, early to middle second, I wouldn't be opposed. I don't mind taking one running back and then waiting on it, but it all comes down to your league mates and how the draft goes. I wouldn't be taking Barkley in like early. I don't know. I wouldn't be taking him late first at all. There's someone else I would prefer there in like a 12 teamer. So it just comes down to your league, I guess. Last team, we have Washington Commanders. So tons of moves here for them. Obviously, Sam Howell's going to be their quarterback. They're bringing in Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator. I think Eric Bieniemy should just be their coach. Do not like what I've seen so far. Ron Rivera kind of throwing him under the bus to the media. I don't like that. Players complaining about Eric Bieniemy's practices being too intense. I mean, like, is this not the National Football League here? Like, how can you have a practice that's too intense? Like, what is going on here? I feel like we never heard this ever coming from the Chiefs when Eric Bieniemy was there, and now all of a sudden he's the offensive coordinator and the practices are too intense. I've never heard of such a thing. I don't know how you can have too intense of a practice. It's the NFL. So, I don't know. He needs to whip them guys into shape over there or what, but I think Bieniemy should just be their coach. I think if Ron Rivera gets fired, they'll just move Bieniemy to head coach. I could see Ron Rivera being one of the first coaches fired this year. Wouldn't shock me. Um, yeah. So other than that, I don't think they're going to be very good this year. But I actually am high on Sam Howell. If you guys watched the Week 1 DFS reaction that Matt and I put out, I said I think Sam Howell was the best quarterback in his draft class, and I'm excited to see what he can do as a starting quarterback. He actually if you look at some of these bad teams like the Cardinals and even like the Texans have a ton of question marks in terms of like their playmakers, Washington has like legitimately good weapons. Like they have Terry McLaurin, they have Jahan Dotson, um, they have like a decent offensive line. They have some weapons in the backfield. I don't hate like how Washington, sets up. I think that the he Sam Howell has some weapons. He has a little mobility, so we'll see what happens. But I don't think the Commanders themselves are going to be very good. But I'm actually excited to watch him. I think Sam Howell's decent, and he actually has some weapons, unlike some of these other bad teams. So if he stinks this year, then with presumably a good offensive coordinator in Bieniemy and some weapons, if he stinks, then he probably just stinks. Well, I mean, he is young, but we'll see what happens. But I think he could be good. So I'm excited to watch the Commanders a little bit. Don't think they have a chance to win the division. Don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm not as down on Washington as other people. He's the culture change they need. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, clearly there's something going on there. If people are complaining that the practices are too intense, I've never heard of this. Like, I saw that and I was like, what are we talking about here? So overall, bets, in my opinion, for this division, I don't have any. Eagles, I think you could take a Super Bowl future on if you do, because if they start off hot, I don't know if you'll get better odds than what they are now. If they start off slow, then you might get a little bit better odds. So it's kind of tough to gauge. But I mean, Eagles would be my Super Bowl pick if I was just picking a team, even though I don't have a future on them right now. Typically, my rule for Super Bowl futures is if it's 12 or 14 to 1, that's kind of my cutoff for preseason. I'll add stuff during the season, but preseason 12 to 1, 14 to 1, that's kind of where I'll settle. So, I don't have much action here. If you wanted to take a stab on Cowboys to win the division, I think you could. If you wanted to take a stab on Cowboys, like number one seed in the NFC, I think you could. I don't know what the odds are on that. Let me see. I don't know if FanDuel has that. Might have to look on DraftKings. I'll have to pull it up on DK and see. Wide receiver heavy, elite quarterback and tight end, then don't take a running back till the eighth round in a 12-team half PPR. Yeah, I think you can take one before the eighth round, but definitely lean wide receiver heavy. Definitely, like I said, if I think Kelsey's in play in the first round, depending where you pick. If you can't get one of Kelsey, Andrews, or Waller, I would be comfortable waiting after that for a little bit. But definitely wide receiver heavy for me. Definitely want an elite quarterback this year, especially if you're playing, like I said, in like a 10-team league. If you're playing 8 or 10 teams in your league, I think you need to get a top quarterback. Jalen Hurts would be my preference. I think Jalen Hurts should be the number one quarterback drafted this year. He's actually going after Mahomes, but it would be Hurts for me. So you get a little bit of an edge because you can be the second team to take one and still get Hurts. So if you're playing an 8 or 10 teamer, I would want Jalen Hurts and I would go wide receiver heavy. If you're playing in a 12 teamer, I still think Hurts is in play, for sure. I still think Hurts is in play, but you'll probably like you could go wide receiver, and then if Hurts is there in the third, I think you could do that in a 12 team. I would be fine with that. But definitely wide receiver heavy. I really want like I mean, if you're picking at the top of your draft, like you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jamar Chase, you have Cooper Cup, you have Tyreek Hill, you have that group. And then you kind of have, if you're in a middle pick and those guys are gone, you have Kelsey. And then if those guys are gone and Kelsey's gone, I mean, I would just take Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would try and maybe get him, and then you can have like a CeeDee Lamb or an AJ Brown coming back on the on the other side. Amon-Ra St. Brown is I mean, we talked about him yesterday, but the sky is really the limit. I feel like he's run poor in terms of touchdowns. He only has 5 touchdowns and 6 touchdowns last 2 years, despite 90 catches and then like what 105 catches last year. I think he could easily catch 105, 110 again this season as long as he's healthy. Jameson Williams, like I said, is going to miss those first 6 games or whatever it is for the gambling suspension. We know he has the rapport with Jared Goff. If you look at his splits with TJ Hawkinson off the team last year, he averaged over 20 PPR points per game with TJ Hawkinson on the Vikings. Like the dude is going to go off. If you catch him on a year where he can get 9+ touchdowns, like he's going to have a monster season. So I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown again this year. And that's someone, if I have a later first round pick, I just pick him every single time. Is TJ a top 5 tight end? Yeah, I would put Hawkinson. Hawkinson's in that, probably in that tier with Waller, but I just think I think I would put him fourth, like personally. Like I would go Kelsey, Andrews, Waller, and then TJ Hawkinson after that. But yeah, you could probably put him in that tier of, like, if you can't get one of those guys, then just wait. You could probably put Hawkinson in that tier also. If you're playing in like a 10 teamer, and you're towards like pick 6, 7, 8, there's a chance you could start Travis Kelsey and Amon-Ra St. Brown both. And then that's just like that's like the dream. If you're playing in like a 10-team league and you could get Travis Kelsey and Amon-Ra St. Brown, come back with, you could either, when it comes back to you, you could see what receivers are there, and then you could just take Hurts and another receiver. Um, That's just that's really good. Really, really good. All right, that about does it for the NFC East preview. Pretty standard. I like the moves a lot of the teams made. I'm a little bit higher on Washington's offense than other people, so I'm excited to watch them. But I think it's Eagles and it's Dallas, and that's about it. But I think Dallas is in play, I think, for like the number 1 seed. We'll see what goes on. Let me see if I can get odds on that. I feel like the odds won't be that good though, because they're only 12-1 to win the Super Bowl, which is just gross. If Dallas was like 16-17, 18-1, I would be betting on them to win the Super Bowl. Let's see here. If anyone's watching Blue Jays Guardians, Mitchell, I know you were in here. What did George Springer do? Because he just got ejected from the game. I'm trying to see, like, I see best record. I see best record on DraftKings, but I don't see, like, number 1 seed. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. All right, baseball. Let's pull that up. Moneyline predictor absolutely smashed again yesterday. If you guys have not signed up, I mean, I tell you every single day I come on here. If you guys would have just signed up already, then you would have paid for your entire membership, and then you'd be able to free roll baseball, preseason football, leading into NFL. Like, you guys would have already made your money back. If we look at yesterday, it was just another huge day. 6-1 for the moneyline predictor. Um, Positive edge plays 86% right now. The moneyline predictor is hitting. If we look at yesterday, Seattle plus 130 hit, Detroit plus 134 hit, White Sox plus 108 hit, Mets plus 100 hit, Dodgers minus 144 hit, Philly minus 188 hit in that no hitter. Only loss was the Reds minus 126. So 6-1 night for the moneyline predictor. And today, the moneyline predictor loved Detroit at plus 142. Everyone in Discord was on Detroit plus 142. Let's get a live update on that. Let's get a live update. Detroit was up 1-0. They're now up 3-0 in the top of the 9th, and there's 2 outs. It's an 0-2 count. So let's see if Detroit hits here. Yeah, Detroit winner, 54%. Biggest differential right there. Boom. Detroit Tigers plus 142. Cash that. It's money. Sign up for the moneyline predictor. You also get access to all these tools. by signing up, and the premium Discord, and my bets, and the prize pick slips, everything. With everyone pivoting to props, what changes do you predict for DFS this season? I mean, we saw this even last season, right? I mean, prize picks, no one in the sports betting industry space, no one had any idea that a third party like a prize picks could come in and compete with traditional sports books. Like that was not on anyone's radar. That was not projectable. Like nobody thought that that was possible. So prize picks has fully penetrated the market. They're not going anywhere, and they were big last season too. So I don't know in terms of changes to DFS. I don't know what changes there will be. I mean, I think that you see changes in terms of like contest size, all that stuff, but that doesn't get affected in football as much as it does other sports, the daily sports, right? NBA, you've seen a big drop off. MLB, you've seen a big drop off. But football is always going to be there. There's always going to be big contests for football. There's always going to be action for football. So I don't think it will affect NFL as much in terms of DFS. Baseball and basketball, like we've already seen those, you know, we've already seen it hitting, I think, the last like few seasons, but I don't think it's going to affect much in terms of football. Like I said, only 4 baseball games tonight. We have the Nationals and Phillies, Patrick Corbin, Aaron Nola. We have the Cardinals and Rays, Little going up against Matt Liberatore. We have these Royals and Red Sox, Cox against James Paxton. And then the nightcap, Dodgers, Rockies, Ty Blotch going up against Clayton Kershaw, who's coming back for the Dodgers. So for me, not a lot to like on this smaller slate. I do think Philly's in a good spot here. You could bet them first 5, or you could bet them full game. Um, so I would be fine taking Philly. I would be fine pairing like you guys know I don't bet anything over -150, so I'm not just gonna bet Philly at -260. I would be pairing them with something. So I think my favorite thing to pair them with would be Tampa Bay, either first 5 or money line. Um, So I think let's see here. Let's see what first 5 would pay. If we do Phillies first 5 at -260, and then we do Tampa Bay first 5 at -205, pays out +106. So that's something I can get behind. So that's going to be my play tonight for baseball. You can do full game if you want, or first 5, but Phillies paired with the Rays to get that too. Even if you do full game, it's going to be like the same payout basically. It's like +108 for full game, and it's +106 for first 5. So Phillies and Rays, those are my leans tonight for baseball. Um, yeah, hop in the Discord for preseason tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Good luck with your bets tonight. Tomorrow we're doing the NFC West, Seattle, San Francisco, those teams for the final of the NFC preview, and then next week we'll be doing the AFC. And I'll also be at the Fantasy Football Expo this weekend, like I said a few times. So if you're coming out to that, stop over, say hi. Me and Travis will be there. Might try and get Travis to kick a field goal again if the possibility arises. Travis, if you're in here watching this, you might have to try and kick a field goal again after, if you know about the Travis field goal, then I don't really need to explain why he needs to kick another one. But thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and good luck tonight.